You spent so much time trying to figure out if you could do it, you never stopped to ask if you should do it. Man, that quote goes a long way and needs to be said over and over and over again on so many issues. I was just talking about AI. And now this, from the Daily Mail. Warning over creation of synthetic human embryos, as top scientists say breakthrough could have chilling effect if misused. Apparently, they have made humans without using a sperm or an egg. Synthetic human embryos. What will come of this? I truly wonder. There are a lot of questions about the universe we don't know. One of the things I find truly fascinating in all of these questions and debates is the idea of ensouling. Would a clone have a soul? Do souls exist? Certainly many people believe they do. But I wonder what makes us us. We just don't know. We have general ideas. We have science. We have faith. Some people think they know. Some people believe they know. But, there's faith and then there's science and then we just don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you do. I just wonder. Check this story out. Scientists have stunned the world by revealing the creation of synthetic human embryos in a lab without eggs or sperm. The breakthrough by Cambridge University and California Institute of Technology experts could soon provide insights into miscarriages and genetic disorders. However, synthetic embryos are not covered by laws in the UK or in most countries around the world and come with serious ethical and legal issues. Scientists who were not involved in the achievement have now shared their concerns about the technology, with one calling it chilling. It is important that research and researchers in this area proceed cautiously, carefully, and transparently, said Professor James Briscoe at the Francis Crick Institute. A human embryo in the lab at 9 days after fertilization, as scientists say they have created an embryo without eggs and sperm. Yo, what? How? They inject the genetic matter into some synthetic? Well, they say the danger is that missteps or unjustified claims will have a chilling effect on the public and policymakers that would be a major setback for the field. The synthetic human embryos were grown from embryonic stem cells, special human cells that have the ability to develop into different cell types, from muscle cells to brain cells. Professor Briscoe stressed the profound ethical and legal questions that now arise due to the work announced on Wednesday on the International Society for Stem Cell Research's annual meeting in Boston and first reported on by The Guardian. Unlike human embryos arising from in vitro fertilization, where there is an established legal framework, there are currently no clear regulations governing stem cell-derived models of human embryos. There is an urgent need for regulations to provide a framework for the creation and use of stem cells derived from models of human embryos. Very interesting. So what are they saying? They took someone's stem cells and then stimulated it into an embryo, which can then grow into a human being? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm not a science guy, huh? An embryo is the early stage in the development of an animal that lasts from shortly after fertilization until the development of body parts when it becomes a fetus. While the embryos do not have the beginnings of a brain or a beating heart, they do include cells that would go on to form the placenta and yolk sac. They say, unlike human embryos arising from in vitro, there are currently no clear regulations. So they're not really explaining what the image is, an embryo, I suppose. Very interesting. It's unclear, however, whether they would continue maturing beyond the earliest stages of development. Professor Briscoe pointed out that the Cambridge, California team hasn't published a research paper or even preprint about the achievement, so it is not possible to comment in detail on the scientific significance of the story. Although it is very early days, synthetic models of human embryos based on stem cells have a lot of potential. They could provide fundamental insight into critical stages of human development. These are stages that have been very difficult to study, and it's a time when many pregnancies fail. Fresh insight might lead to a better understanding of the causes of miscarriages and the unique aspects of human development. Dr. Ildem Ackerman, associate professor in functional genomics at the University of Birmingham, said the development has significant implications. Obviously, the research can provide a deeper understanding of how tissues and organs form, potentially leading to advancements in regenerative medicine and the treatment of developmental disorders. Nevertheless, the ability to do something does not justify doing it. You see, that's what I'm trying to say, right? Ethical frameworks should be established and maintained in line with the public's view on the subject. The international team's synthetic human embryos best resemble blastocysts, clusters of dividing cells in an early stage of an embryo. So here we have a model showing stage 1 fertilization. And then I see. So if you look at the sperm and egg, day 2, you get the zygote, 2-cell stage, 4-cell stage, 8-cell stage, and then the blastocyst is day 5. So it appears that this is what they're making. Wow, man, this is crazy stuff. The embryos were cultivated to a stage just beyond the equivalent of 14 days of development for a natural embryo. Although the international team referred to them as synthetic embryos, they are not truly synthetic because they were not created from scratch. Instead, they are derived from living stem cells that originate from an embryo. Okay, so they've basically cloned an embryo. That's less alarming, but still kind of freaky. Essentially, what scientists do is cultivate a single stem cell and encourage its growth into an organized group of cells that, in theory, possess the potential to develop into an implantable embryo. She added, this report suggests that there's now proof that human embryonic stem cells can potentially become embryos. Professor Roger Sturmey, a senior research fellow in maternal and fetal health at the University of Manchester, said synthetic embryos could reduce the reliance on real human embryos for research. It is still human embryos. Man, there are deep and dark questions about this. And I think when we talk about the issue of abortion, you need to understand that this may be a large component of why they want abortion into 9 months. Scientific research on human beings. You know, we have these debates a whole lot as it pertains to abortion. And people seem to think that it may just be the left is amoral. Maybe they're in favor of depopulation. Or maybe they want to be able to do scientific research on human beings. And how do you do it? Well, if a human life is protected under the Constitution, you can't. But what if we make the argument that certain life is not in fact life? There you go. This raises a lot of questions. A synthetic embryo is still a human embryo. Does it have human life? I am no religious leader. I can't tell you, man. I just think this stuff is freaky and it's going to get darker. They say the work builds on a steadily growing foundation of research that demonstrates that stem cells can, under very specialized lab conditions, be persuaded to form a structure that resembles the embryonic stage called the blastocyst. In normal development, the blastocyst is an important structure as it is around the time that the embryo begins the process of implanting into the uterus and establishing pregnancy. Well, there's the question. Are they going to do that research? Are they going to try to grow this in a person? They've already done it with, I believe it was a lamb. They grew it in a bag. Man, dark days indeed. There's that viral video where they show babies being grown in pods. And they say, you don't need women anymore. Grow them in pods. I hate to think what a future will be like if this is the path we go down. Humans no longer make babies the old-fashioned way. They grow them. Genetically modified, specialized designer babies grown in pods. Man, crazy. For all we know, in 100 years, it'll be normal. And we'll be like, can you believe people used to actually physically give birth? How crazy. But I got to be honest. If we can make babies in machines, for what purpose would a society have women? No, seriously. We talk about the supplanting of women's spaces. But if we were going to try and design humans, we want stronger, faster, higher grip strength, more muscle mass. Wouldn't they just start making all of the babies dudes? If you don't need women to have the babies? It's a creepy thought. I'm not saying it's a good one. I'm saying there'll be people who will absolutely push for that. They're going to say, models that can enable us to study this period are urgently needed to help us understand infertility and early pregnancy loss. To understand. You know, I'll say it again, man. I'll say it again. You spent so much time asking if you could. You didn't stop to ask if you should. They're talking about all the stuff we need to understand, and there's a tough question there. I do think I think knowledge is a good thing, but at what cost? What must we pursue? There's a question over whether or not technology is actually destroying humanity. And I wonder. Technology results in a massive boom. We don't have the cultural wisdom to handle technologies of this level, even the ones that we develop. You know, if you were to bring weapons and technology to a less socially developed culture, they'd go nuts with it. And we talk about if aliens came to Earth and gave weapons to one nation, what would happen? They'd probably take over. Maybe, maybe not. But we don't even think about the technology we develop and how it affects us. When we invent a technology, those who invent it may understand it, but do regular people? Will they be able to appropriately apply the use of this technology, or is there even an appropriate use? It's getting crazy out there. I'll leave it there. Let me know what you think. Next segment's coming up in a few minutes. Stick around, and I'll see you all shortly.